Oh, all set? Just tell me when we'll go. Okay. Well, good afternoon. I'm Joe Curtatone. I'm the Mayor of Somerville. And I'm here when I make a public statement regarding the City of Somerville's appeals regarding the Wynn Casino project on the Mystic River. So why are we appealing? We have 5 lawsuits filed addressing a number of environmental and health concerns. But first and foremost, we still don't have a meaningful traffic mitigation plan for an area that's already choked by automobile congestion. And we want to be clear, worsening traffic is far more than just a simple nuisance. It is a serious health threat. A collaborative study of pollution near highway and major roadways in our region conducted by Tufts University found that breathing air polluted with vehicle exhaust increases the risk of cardiovascular disease, lung cancer, premature death, and asthma. The casino, the Wynn Casino project, will put 18,000 extra cars per day, 18,000 extra cars per day onto our local roadways, pumping tons of extra exhaust into the air that we breathe, and much of it into neighborhoods where some of our most vulnerable populations live, in areas already declared environmental justice zones due to the pollution load. So the worse the traffic gets, the more we are adversely affecting public health. And no amount of political theater and public harassment from Wynn will keep me, as the Mayor of Somerville, from doing my job and advocating for the health and well-being of the residents of our community, the City of Somerville. I also want to be clear. Our appeals, our actions have nothing to do regarding the question of whether we agree with expanding gaming or not. I came out on the short end of that question. I've been very public and consistent against my opposition towards expanding gaming in the Commonwealth, but that's not the question here. Whether the Wynn Casino locates in this location, whether we'll locate a casino, will locate in the Boston area A region, and the jobs will come, regardless of that, the process needs to run its course first. The City of Somerville, we want to see good jobs come to the area as much as anyone else. But what's holding up the project isn't Joe Curtatone or the City of Somerville. It is the Wynn team. As soon as Wynn is willing to step up to the plate to develop a responsible traffic plan and address our environmental concerns, then this project has a possibility of moving forward. It's their unwillingness to do that that is holding this up, not us. And the past 2 years since the arbitration process as part of the Surrounding Communities Agreement, there has not been one overture or meaningful attempt by Wynn to reach out to the City of Somerville to address our concerns. It would also help if Wynn would be straight about the timeline here. As I just mentioned, we've been clear. For the past 2 years, I have been clear, honest, consistent, transparent about our concerns, and they've made no effort to address them. And they've entered into this process with eyes wide open. They know that we can most likely involve appeals. Any responsible developer developing this type of project knows there are various steps and that appeals are always a possibility. Appeals are a necessary part of the check and balance to make sure we get it right. They knew the project would require rigorous review, and that's what's happening. And that's what our appeal is for. They knew the appeal was coming, and their claim that everything from this point on is the responsibility of the City of Somerville is really based on Wynn's fantasy timeline where they are above the rules and the regulations of this Commonwealth and that they're not subject to the normal appeals process. Now, if they were being straight, if they're being straight with the public, the media, and lawmakers, they would not attempt to draw an arbitrary line in the sand and claim it's all on Somerville's clock now. This is Wynn's clock. This is their process, and they know full well that it needs to play out before they start construction. I'm the mayor of a small city of 78,000 people. And we're taking on a casino industry giant, a corporate machine with dozens of paid consultants, operatives, experts. And all we're doing is exercising our rights under the law, our rights for the things we believe in. The Wynn project has to go through the same rigorous process that any project of this size should, so that they address the same kinds of environmental and traffic concerns that any project in the state would undergo, like the Assembly Road project. I think it's important to comment on that here, because I've heard a lot of rhetoric coming from Wynn trying to compare the two projects. I mean, the comparisons here couldn't be more off. It's laughable. When Somerville set to redevelop Assembly Square directly across, literally yards, directly across the river from the proposed casino, we improved direct highway access from I-93. We fought for and got a new T-station built, putting in city funding and private funding. And we completely redesigned the interior road network to more efficiently pull traffic off the local roadways and highway corridors. We also expanded access and opened up the gateway of the Mystic Fells Reservation. We are creating a long-term, a plan is long-term destination neighborhood where you can bike, you can walk, you can take public transit and automobile. The Wynn project, unless you're helicoptering in from Las Vegas, you are driving there. These things were in place before the majority of the new development took place. The Assembly Square project had to pay more than $70 million in environmental mitigation projects, including fixing two of the largest sewer overflow pipes onto the Mystic. I'd submit Wynn is getting away pretty cheap with spending only about half of that, $42 million. The Wynn project could go up before we even have a comprehensive transportation plan to address the potential crush of cars, let alone any action already taken. As a community, we spent years working with state and federal agencies and went through multiple rounds of review, public input, to come up with a project that balanced economic, community, environmental concerns, and not just for the city of Somerville, but for the entire region. And it is a regional success, a project that is creating more than 20,000 net new jobs, and only half the district compared to the 4,000 promised by Wynn. And what we're seeing here is none of that rigor and project coordination from Wynn. I mean, if we didn't know better, we think the two projects are taking place in two completely different states with two completely different sets of laws and development processes. Let me restate, we are here fighting for the health, well-being, and future of some of the most vulnerable residents. That's my job as the city of Somerville. This is not about politics. This is not about Steve Wynn. I haven't even met the man. And this is not about expanding gaming. This is about protecting the quality of life and future of the people of my city. I submit they deserve to have a good quality of life, and that this casino project should not negatively impact that future. I thank you and take any questions you may have. Byron? So we are, as I mentioned, I'm in favor of jobs. Bring in thousands of jobs and make sure we all have access to them. In fact, Assembly Square is a model of how we should do it. More than half those jobs will go to people outside the city of Somerville. It's not about a question. If they want to have those jobs, if they want to move a project like this forward, I mean, it's in their hands. The question I think you should ask them is, where have you been for 2 years? This process was laid out. Our concerns have been laid out clearly in a transparent manner and honestly for the past 2 years, and we've been consistent about that. So we hope those jobs come. But the impacts of this project must be mitigated first, just like we did at Assembly Square. And on the other question? About doing this at the last minute. It was already signed agreement. No, there was no signed agreement. There was an arbitration process as part of the rules and regulations through the Gaming Commission, which I submit were written by the casino lobby and industry, but allowed for an arbitration process where each side and the city of Somerville went into that process with due diligence, in good faith, and we had to make our best and final offer, and they did, and the arbitrators picked one or the other. There's no room in between. That process left these questions and our concerns unaddressed and unanswered. And the law provides us the opportunity to appeal to get it right. To get it right. And these issues are real. They affect real people. And mark my words, we will continue it until we get resolution.
Hey, Joe, there was recently a report by MassDOT that said that some of those cities and roads exits will not be affected by traffic from moving to respond.
No, that's not fact. In fact, we have presented expert testimony from MIT in the arbitration process to show a lot of the traffic will be diverted to our local roadways. One of the elements and variables that have been missing in their initial analysis from Wynn on the traffic impacts is how we act today. I mean, what do? If we're looking for direction or the best route to any destination and we're about to experience traffic, we go to our GPS, and GPS gives you an alternate route. And what was missing is more sophisticated and modern methods and analysis that should be part of that traffic pattern. But let's talk about the traffic. Wynn's project will be doing an additional 18,000, and they readily admit this, 18,000 additional vehicle trips per day. At peak hour, 1,100 trips to their site. On the Assembly Square site, it's barely over 160. 65% of Wynn's traffic will go through Sullivan Square. Compare Assembly Square, less than 5%. The neighborhoods that will be directly impacted, the city of Somerville and the most vulnerable neighborhoods in the East Somerville area. Yes?
How do you mitigate 18,000 cars? Do you want to lessen the number of cars? What's your proposal?
Well, the approach should be to start where we had a conversation that began in the arbitration process. And if Wynn really wants to have a serious conversation, first they should pick up the phone and call us. Then be prepared to explain to us. And quite frankly, the burden is not on the city of Somerville. We've put forth information how to approach, or ideas how to approach the mitigation. But until we have a comprehensive plan, analysis and plan, how can we come to a solution? And what we've seen is no genuine, honest outreach, meaningful outreach to us to even have that conversation. It's in their hands. Yes.
The NEPA application and certification, did that deal with the environmental impacts caused by 18,000?
Under the MEPA process, they certainly did a review, and the appeal process allows us to appeal the findings through MEPA or here in the Chapter 91 license granting if we believe the state didn't get it right. And we argue the state did not get it right. And as we argued also, the state put the cart before the horse. Things are moving forward. The license was granted before the MEPA process was even completed. That's not what happened in Assembly Square. That's not how these projects are usually done. Peter?
Is there a list somewhere of if you do this, and this, will be okay? Or is it not quite that simple?
It's a good starting point, an important starting point. And we've submitted, I've said this publicly, if Wynn wants to have a conversation, pick up the phone. Here's my card. One of you guys should give it to him. Call me. All right, but we start from where we began in the arbitration process. We start about the issues that impact the quality of life to our neighborhoods, to the kids, to the residents, some of the most vulnerable populations in the region. Yes?
It's right that Robert Savio says he has called and actually is waiting for a response from you. That there's been a number of outreaches from their company to you and the city of Somerville.
Robert, not on this topic. We've heard the only conversations we had from Wynn representatives, I just wanted to check to make sure there wasn't a call on the way in here, was to announce job fairs and trainings to introduce staff, and it's very pleasant. I haven't heard from Steve Wynn. So I haven't heard from Steve Wynn.
One of your reaction to two things that Mayor DiMaria said. One, he said that you had 30 calls in the last couple of days, and you called this appeal for politics as
Actually, the mayor and I, a little over a week ago, exchanged text messages. I was away this week, and he called this morning. I'll be, once the mayor's willing to have a constructive conversation, I'm sure we'll sit down. Mayor DiMaria will not be negotiating between the city, Somerville, and Wynn if Wynn chooses to have a conversation. In terms of politics, this is not about politics. I've said publicly, watch what they do. It's going to get personal from them towards me. It's going to get vicious. And it's going to get political. I have not once attacked any individual representing Wynn or Steve Wynn or the mayor of Everett. I respect everybody's role. I respect Steve Wynn. I don't even know the man. If I had to build a casino, if I really wanted to fix Milligan, that'd be the person I'd choose to build it. I respect the mayor's role to want to fight for his community and what he thinks is necessary. I would hope the public, and they would respect my responsibility to the 78,000 people who have charged me with responsibility to be the mayor of the city and to look out for their best interest, well-being, and health. That is what I'm doing. That is what I'll continue to do.
Do you feel under personal attack now?
Nothing I can't handle. You know?
Somerville was not included in the surrounding communities agreement in the beginning until there's an appeal process, and then, the city still has significantly less than the other cities. Do you feel that the cities were treated fairly through this process?
No, I do not believe the surrounding communities process is equitable. So, the purpose of the surrounding community process theoretically is to make sure there is equity of in terms of mitigating the impacts of the casino location, its operation. But it presumes that the majority of impacts will go to the host community. If you've been down to the casino site, where you stand at Assembly Square, it is literally a football field away. More than 1 million people, 1.3 million people live within a 10-mile radius. The most densely populated city in New England, the city of Somerville, hello, we live right there. We're 0.1 miles away. The most vulnerable neighborhoods in the Commonwealth, some of the most vulnerable environmental justice zones are literally yards away. Yet, the surrounding community process does not give deference or recognition to that in any meaningful manner. So, we end up with an arbitration decision which doesn't even pay any attention to some of the most critical intersections where we see congestion queuing up and causing environmental harm and harm to our public health and well-being. And then at the surface barely touches what some of the remediation or benefits should be to the surrounding community. So the process in of itself, as a consequence of the legislation and regulations which were driven by and drafted for and by the casino lobbying industry, did not serve the surrounding communities in an equitable manner.
Mayor, I know this is not a personal thing with you, but I believe that you have asked yourself from going on your
So I want to correct that. Yeah, it's not a diagnosis. I suffer from asthmatic conditions and respiratory challenges, and I grew up right here. Yes, one of the thoughts from my physicians is where you grew up. I grew up in Prospect Hill. My house was, where my mother still lives, about 50 yards away from McGrath Highway, the beginning of the McCarthy overpass. And I mean, but we know, all the studies show that communities and populations that live near and around highways suffer and, greater health consequences. And those where congestion is heavy, like I-93 right now, that we'll have heavier pollution, so greater risk of heart disease, lung cancer, asthma, and premature death.
I just want to ask is how does that experience affect your resolve in what you're trying to do?
It certainly gives me greater perspective than maybe most. I'm a proponent of public health, and I don't suffer nearly the challenges other people do, but hey, I grew up around it. And, and it makes me, from a personal level, give a great appreciation to what other people have no choice but to live around that transportation infrastructure where they may be feeling. Even now today, my family and I, we live in 10 Hills. We're in the same, we're just a stone's throw from the I-93 super deck.
Do you feel, Mr. Mayor, like the Wynn is trying to bully you?
I want to distinguish between Steve Wynn, the person, because I've never met the individual, I'm sure. Yeah, but I've not met Steve Wynn, and I'm sure he's a good person, and I would enjoy meeting him. I'm sure we'd get along great. And the armada of lobbyists, political operatives, and experts who've made it very clear, and is shown by their action, that this is going to be personal, it's going to get vicious, and it's going to be political. Hey, I'm up for the task. If I have to stand alone to take them on, I'm going to do it. And I want to make clear that our resolve, these issues are serious. They're real. They affect real people. We believe in them. We are not backing down. And we'll take it as far as we have to until they're addressed. No amount of money, and we're not looking to be bought off, no amount of money to the greater Commonwealth is worth the life of any one person or the well-being in my community. That's my job to fight for, and that's what I'm going to do. Danielle?
I know in the arbitration you said that that the amount of money that Wynn was putting towards fixing up Sullivan Square and the traffic around Sullivan Square was not nearly adequate. Wynn said it was today. What are your thoughts?
I do not believe Steve Wynn bears the responsibility of solving all the traffic issues in the region. We're the sixth most congested region in the United States that has serious economic, social, and health consequences. However, every project that comes in, whether we agree with the use or not, that impacts, compounds that problem in a significant way, like this will, bears the responsibility of providing significant mitigation. So I would stand by that, saying the mitigation is not significant enough, although I do not believe the Wynn project on its own should solve those problems. The Commonwealth has a responsibility to leverage that investment in mitigation along with other resources to solve the issue.
You said a number of times that you're exercising your legal right to appeal. Do you feel like this is something that's been overblown, that the resource is trying to shift the blame to you?
Yes, and I'm a little confused. I guess one of the questions you should ask them, where were you for 2 years? I mean, for the past 2 years, we've done everything except send a save-the-date card that we're going to appeal. And you cannot appeal under Chapter 91 license until the license has been issued. The license was issued on January 22nd, and at every opportunity for public input, which is a necessity and a prerequisite to filing appeal, the city of Somerville was there, making it very clear. The Wynn team knew that. They understood where we came from. So we receive, and you have a 21-day appeal period once the notification comes out. Well, actually, interestingly enough, we didn't get that until February 3rd. We made it pretty clear. That's the route we're going to go prior to that. I do not know what they were thinking. Maybe you could ask them. Maybe somebody forgot. Maybe they think it wouldn't happen. Maybe it's just been so easy for them to get what they want in Massachusetts. Thank you very much for coming, and I'll be around here. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.